Born in the beginning of the previous century, we are often seen as traditional, but we have been quiet trailblazers in new opportunities and technologies that have proven exceptional. Because our care for the Filipino people is forever intentional. We have been helping families create their life's master plan, making it attainable with tools easily made accessible. This is a commitment we carried in our hearts all these years. An inspiration that encourages us to protect you from life's uncertainties. A force that continuously pushes us to help the youth pursue excellence. A drive that makes us work hard to build cities and communities. A desire that compels us to boost your family's protection. Forward thinking has always been our thing. Pro-country, caring, and far-seeing. We are often seen as old school, but YGC has been future-proofing lives even before it was cool. This is our mission. This is our vision.
Good morning. We would like to welcome all of our guests who have joined us live here right now at the Hexagon Lounge at RCBC Plaza, and to all of our friends there watching us via Zoom. Thank you so much for joining us. For our good friends here in RCBC, our Sustainability Forum 2023. And as you can see, it's a very interesting topic which we'll be discussing here this morning, advocating sustainability as a serious business. My name is RJ Ledesma. Very honored to be standing here and hosting in front of so many good-looking people here today. Thank you so much for joining us here right now. And of course, in today's business landscape, things are constantly evolving. And right now, sustainability is becoming more and more critical for business people. I speak as an entrepreneur and businessman myself. I run an outdoor food market. And I've noticed nowadays that because of climate change, that the rains are becoming more frequent and more severe, which increases my costs of doing business. Which means for me, sustainability is as important for a small business as it is for a large enterprise. Countries across the globe right now have pledged their nationally determined contributions, or NDCs, to the UN as a declaration of their commitment to reduce national emissions and mitigate the effects of climate change on all of us, with climate finance as a very important component, which of course our good friends here from RCBC have taken note of. Likewise, more and more businesses are beginning to adapt sustainability and transform their business practices and business models to a more minimal carbon footprint. So to all those businesses who are curious right now to find out how you can do the same, please stay tuned for our Sustainability Forum. Now, while this transition towards a more sustainable business model is important, the question is it going to be easy? No, it's not going to be easy, but with the support of the public and private sector and our good friends here in RCBC, we will be able to do this together. But more importantly, the question remains, how does one transition to become a more sustainable business? And that is a question that I have for myself, along with my fellow business people. So we will get it now straight from our good friends here in RCBC, the top executives here with us today to help us drive the conversation on how we as businesses can contribute significantly towards environmental goals. Joining RCBC in the discussion are prominent industry leaders who will provide great insights from their vantage point on how we can achieve these goals. But before everything else, please allow me to welcome here on stage the President and hardworking CEO of RCBC. Under his leadership, RCBC has accelerated its business and digital transformation, winning multiple recognitions in innovation. He also led RCBC in its major strides towards sustainable financing, including landmark green bond issues and its upgrade to AA MSCI ESG rating. And get this, in 2020, he made the bold statement of RCBC turning its back on coal, reaffirming the bank's commitment to a more truly sustainable future. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my good friend, Mr. Eugene Acevedo. Let's please give him a round of applause.
Thank you, RJ. God, that energy, I have to follow that. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of my colleagues in RCBC, I want to thank you for the honor of hosting our second Sustainability Forum. I would especially like to thank our guest panelists, Ms. Glenda Anisco-Nino and Attorney Body Pulido, our clients, friends from media, and my colleagues from RCBC for taking time out to join us today. Last year's forum had us talking about how everyone has a share in the responsibility of building a sustainable future, beginning with renewable energy. We promised then that we need to continue this conversation, and here we are delivering on that promise. Today, we focus on the involvement of the entire business community, big and small, and our general stakeholders in achieving a sustainable future for us and the generations to come. But first, please allow me to share with you our journey, RCBC's journey towards sustainability. For more than 10 years now, we have been embracing sustainability as part of our lending strategy and operations when we established our own environmental and social management system in 2011, ESMS. As far as funding power projects goes, and RJ mentioned this earlier, we were the first bank to declare we will no longer fund coal-fired power plants. And we aim to have zero participation in such projects by 2031. Over the last decade, and I'm proud to say this, we have funded over 3 gigawatts of renewable energy projects, and we are working on a pipeline of other wind and solar projects. We even have some hydro and geothermal as well. Wind is no longer simple wind. We're doing offshore wind. We are not keeping sustainability to ourselves. We are making sustainability accessible to our customers and investors. Through sustainable financing instruments, or SFIs, they can get in on the action and participate in building a more sustainable future. Today, we have issued $1.4 billion in SFIs. We also launched our Peso Green Time Deposit, a first of its kind, maybe the only instrument of its kind in this country, where customers can invest as low as 5,000 pesos, and the proceeds of which are exclusively used for eligible green projects that make a real positive impact. Our employees here are not just bankers. They are sustainability advocates. Every banker who works here has taken the sustainability course, which helps them understand their roles and responsibilities towards ESG, and even have some idea of how much carbon equivalent is in a piece of steak at Mamu's. We also train our employees in advanced quantitative climate risk analysis tools and global standards through our partnership with the Paris Agreement, Capital Transition Assessment, or PACTA, and Partnership for Carbon Accounting Financials, or PCAF. We're not just setting a target that we're going to be meeting. We are actually calculating the greenhouse gas emissions of our portfolio. Hundreds of our employees also actively participate and volunteer in the YGC Earth Care project, which aims to plant 50,000 native trees in Sierra Madre. We're not just doing renewables, we're also doing sustainable projects in financial inclusion. But if I talk about those things, my speech will take longer. So I'll end now by saying that there's so much more to do to cultivate a financing climate that is anchored on sustainability. After all, sustainability is a shared responsibility. And we always say here that doing good is not only good business, it is simply the right thing to do. We at RCBC intend to continue down this road, or up this road, where no one gets left behind and everyone can grow in a sustainable and responsible way. Thank you very much, and I look forward to a meaningful discussion in this forum. Maraming salamat. Joey, back to you.
Thank you so much, President Eugene Acevedo. And like he just said, I just want to reiterate what he shared with us earlier on. It's not just about doing good business, it's the right thing for us to do. So thank you so much to our good friends from RCBC for being the sustainability advocates, starting on the right foot and helping us, their clients, their businesses, the ecosystem for business in the Philippines, grow their environmental and sustainability footstep together with their financial innovations in sustainable financing instruments and peso green time deposits. So again, round of applause, please. Thank you so much, Mr. Eugene Acevedo. And as the premier bank here in the Philippines, RCBC has been at the forefront of the industry's transition towards building a climate-resilient and low-carbon footprint. To let us know more about the bank's journey towards sustainability is, of course, RCBC's very own Chief Sustainability Officer. She leads and oversees the bank's sustainability efforts and harmonizes them with different groups and subsidiaries in RCBC. He has played a vital role in the bank's sustainability initiatives since 2019, exemplifying her commitment towards sustainability. She at the same time obtained certification on sustainability and climate risk from the Global Association of Risk Professionals in May 2023. She will continue to lead the newly organized Sustainable Finance Division under the Risk Management Group. Please welcome Ms. Army Lamberte, our Chief Sustainability Officer of RCBC.
Thank you, RJ. Good morning, everyone. Before I start my presentation, I request all of you to please turn your attention to the screen for a short video.
Propelled by more than 60 years in Philippine banking, RCBC, the Philippines' fifth largest bank, is forging ahead into the future, leading forward. For more than a decade now, RCBC has been embedding environmental, social, and governance or ESG principles into its operations. The pandemic made many put a pause on their sustainability plans, but RCBC forged ahead. The Philippines is one of the most vulnerable to the effects of climate change, particularly sea level rise. Annual losses from typhoons have been estimated to cost 1.2% of its GDP. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, or BSP, recognizes that climate change and environmental hazards could pose significant risks to the country's financial system. For RCBC, this is an opportunity for the private financial sector to play a vital role in the transition to a resilient, low-carbon world and a socially inclusive economy. This is why, in 2022, RCBC again stepped up to the plate, marking many milestones. In 2019, RCBC created its Sustainable Finance Framework. Since then, it has been making significant strides in its sustainability impacts. In 2022, RCBC combined for the first time its Sustainability Report and Impact Report into one publication, making sustainability central to its business strategy. The report also discloses RCBC's contributions to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or UN SDGs. It includes its participation in loans that meet the UN SDGs and that have made environmental and social impacts. The report also highlights these pioneering innovations of RCBC. Manibela, the Philippines' first human-assisted remote banking service, allowing physical digital or phygital banking experience for unbanked Filipinos. Issuance of environment-friendly RCBC credit cards beginning 2023. RCBC is turning industrial plastic waste from the printing and packaging industry into recycled credit cards. Peso Green Time Deposit. This enables RCBC customers to ensure their own financial future while helping save our planet. Adoption of Global Climate Risk Tool. RCBC became the first Philippine bank to use the global standard for measuring and reporting greenhouse gas financed emissions. It is the first Philippine bank to disclose its Scope 3 GHG financed emissions, 1 year ahead of its commitment to the Partnership for Carbon Accounting Financials, or PCAF. These numbers attest to RCBC's determination to be a leader in sustainable finance. $1.4 billion green and sustainability bonds issued since 2019. Over 8,000 projects worth 71 billion pesos in its 2022 sustainable finance portfolio, contributing to 12 out of 17 UN SDGs. 12 sustainability awards won since 2019. More than just allocating capital, RCBC is making decisive steps in sustainability. In 2020, RCBC was the first bank to publicly declare no funding for the construction of new coal power plants. By 2031, RCBC will have zero exposure to coal-fired power projects.
There is a lot more we can do, and even more when we lead and show others the way. In the coming years, our sustainability journey will be more exciting as we expand our efforts toward nature and wildlife preservation. By nurturing and broadening partnerships on a rock-solid foundation rooted in sustainability, we stay true to our DNA. After all, sustainability is a shared responsibility that we gladly embrace alongside our stakeholders.
For RCBC, this is what it takes to lead and lead forward. We invite you to read RCBC's 2022 Sustainability and Impact Report. Join us as we lead forward.
As we have seen in the video, RCBC is leading forward in sustainability. But what does it take to be in this position of leadership? For RCBC, our sustainability journey is rooted in commitment. As early as 2011, we committed to practice responsible lending to our environmental and social management system, or ESMS, that is embedded in our client due diligence process. In 2019, we developed our own sustainable finance framework that commits to global bond standards and through which we have been able to refinance loans for environmental and social projects, such as renewable energy, energy efficiency, MSMEs, hospitals and schools, among others. Then in 2020, we committed to no longer fund the construction of new coal-fired power plants in the Philippines or anywhere else in the world. Our remaining exposure to coal exposure will be zeroed out by 2031. And continuing our momentum to date, we recognize opportunities so that we can deepen our commitment in sustainability. Since 2020, RCBC's DiscardTech has boosted financial accessibility for Filipinos through its strategy of providing broad-based digital banking opportunities so that no one should be left behind. In 2021, RCBC became the first Philippine bank to participate in the Partnership for Carbon Accounting Financials, or PCAF, and the first in Asia to use the Paris Agreement Capital Transition Assessment, or PACTA, and climate stress test models. We were able to disclose our first measurement of greenhouse gas, or GHG-financed emissions last year, which is 1 year ahead of our commitment to PCAF. And in April last year, RCBC responded to the opportunity of participating in the energy transition financing of ASEAN Corp for the early decommissioning of a coal-fired power plant by 15 years. We've brought these changes to the next level. Leveraging on the widespread acceptance for DiscardTech, the bank launched Manibela, Barangayan Banking last year, which showcases the combined features of DiscardTech's digital banking and the use of sustainable electric tricycles to reach rural barangays nationwide. Also last year, RCBC's SME banking group launched digital banking solutions that facilitated faster access to financing. This unwavering support to SMEs was recognized by the Asian Banker, which bestowed the Best SME Bank Award to RCBC. Our sustainability journey has also been characterized by strategic networking or building relationships. We give importance to sustainable value chain and community service. Beginning this year, RCBC's credit cards have been issued as recycled cards, a pioneering innovation made possible through RCBC Credit Card's collaboration with its supplier. RCBC has also participated in the YGC Earth Care project. Since 2011, 23,000 trees have been planted and a total of 22,000 additional trees are targeted to be planted to cover the remaining 42 hectares within the Sierra Madre Mountains. RCBC, of course, also contributes to the CSR activities of the Alfonso Yuchenko Foundation, such as the Health Treatment Assistance Project for Women and the fundraising programs during Christmas season. Now, building relationships is, of course, key to expansion. As we mentioned, toward the end of the video, our sustainability efforts will be expanded to include support for nature and wildlife preservation. There may also be possible collaboration with our clients for efforts on climate action, as well as advocacies that promote inclusive financial practices. Internally, we of course continue to acknowledge the importance of learning, of cultivation. Starting 2022, sustainability has become part of our performance evaluation metrics. We developed our own sustainable e-learning course materials that are mandatory for all employees and accessible to our board of directors. Our second bank-wide sustainability e-learning focused on contributions to the UN SDGs. And as a follow-through, we published the UN SDG Daily Handbook this year. And last but not the least, we continue to adhere to the principle of transparency. The information that we all saw in the video are disclosed in the bank's 2022 Sustainability and Impact Report that is published on our webpage along with other relevant disclosures. Summarizing the main thoughts on what it takes to be in this position of leadership, allow me please to close my presentation with these essentials in RCBC's sustainability journey. Commitment, opportunities, next level, networking, expansion, cultivation, and transparency. For us in RCBC, it is vital to connect as we move forward together. And that is why we are all here in this morning's forum, to talk and be heard, to listen to each other, to collaborate. It is through connection that we learn from each other, find solutions together, and promote sustainability for the common good, sincerely, collectively, and seriously. Thank you very much, and good morning again to all.
And again, Ms. Army, thank you so much for connecting with all of us here as well. And as a business person engaged in the discussion, I found very, very interesting again, once again, the importance of, in terms of financial inclusion and sustainability, Discartec, and of course, Manibela. So again, one more round of applause, please. Great, great efforts by the RCBC, together with Mr. Lito Villanueva of RCBC. Fantastic efforts, which we'll get to discuss a bit later on during our panel discussion. And with that, let's move on. The future is looking bright and green with our friends from RCBC. Thank you so much for contributing to our environmental and sustainability efforts here in the country. And with that, let's get the ball rolling. Joining me here on our panel, first of all, is the Senior Vice President and Chief Risk Officer and Risk Management Group Head at RCBC, who puts a strong focus on sustainable finance among his other priorities. His group plays a pivotal role in embedding sustainability into the risk management framework, aligning the institution's financial strategies with its environmental and social responsibilities, helping navigate the challenges and, of course, the opportunities which come with sustainable financing. Please welcome Mr. Juan Gabriel Gabi Tomas. Joining Gabi here on stage, please welcome the Executive Vice President and Head of the Corporate Banking Group of RCBC. As one of the champions of sustainable finance, she has seen how RCBC has grown its portfolio of renewable energy, a portfolio that includes a wind farm project all the way in Vietnam that was cited by the Asset as Renewable Energy Deal of the Year. With many milestones under her leadership, she still believes in an ongoing journey towards becoming a champion for sustainability. Please welcome Ms. Elizabeth Coronel. And thank you as well to our guests joining us here today. Also joining us is SGV & Company's Financial Services Organization Assurance Partner, who leads the organization's Climate Change and Sustainability Services Initiative. She is a CPA and holds a IIA certificate in internal audit and business risk. Over the years, she has obtained in-depth experience in the audit of clients in the insurance, banking, and capital markets, and wealth management sectors. She has also had extensive experience in designated offering review and regulatory of both local and cross-border capital market transactions. Please welcome Ms. Glenda Anisco Nino. Ms. Glenda, thank you so much for accepting the invitation of RCBC to join us for our Sustainability Forum. Our next guest, a lawyer by profession, he is also a social entrepreneur and a pioneer in the electric vehicle industry here in the Philippines. He co-founded the Electric Vehicle Expansion Enterprises, or EVI, a social enterprise that promotes electric vehicles as a mode of public transportation here in the country. In 2014 to 2016, he served as the executive director for the Electric Vehicle Association of the Philippines, which is a non-stock, non-profit organization that encourages the use of electric vehicles for a more sustainable transport landscape here in the country. He was also a former assistant secretary for the Department of Energy, who supervised the Energy Utilization and Management Bureau, the Oil Industry Management Bureau, the Energy Resource Development Bureau, and the field offices of the DOE in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Under his post, he led the implementation of the e-trike program, where over 3,000 electric tricycles were distributed to local LGUs. Currently, he's a partner of the law firm Pulido, Villaroman, Manangkil, and De La Fuente Law. Please welcome Attorney Leonido Body Pulido. Attorney, thank you so much for joining us. And that rounds out our panel here this morning. And we're going to have, like Mr. Eugene Acevedo promised, we'll have a truly interesting discussion here this morning. And as we start off this discussion with regard to the sustainability efforts, it was nice that we were given a sort of context earlier on to say how RCBC has evolved in its portfolio, particularly with its inclusion of sustainability efforts and financial inclusion efforts. Can you help us get a better understanding or better appreciation right now? How has the portfolio evolved and how it's also actually improved RCBC as a whole? Gabby, yes, please.
First of all, good morning to everyone. I'm very happy to be joined by a panel of esteemed guests. In talking about the journey that RCBC has taken, we started with our ESMS in 2011. And we put in ESG in our lending vetting process. So that takes care of the asset side. As we move forward in 2019, we came up with Sustainable Finance Framework, which now talks about the funding side. So together, they have been a very powerful mobilizer of our program across all asset classes. And we have been able to showcase and share this with the industry. So in the early years, we were one of the few, if not the only bank, aggressively pursuing ESG. And I'm very happy to note that now more and more banks, and also the BSP and the regulators, are pushing the agenda forward. And we continue to help bring the message across and to more listeners, even our partners and our clients as well.
Got that. But Gabby, I just want to ask an additional question. As you're moving towards the sustainability efforts of the bank, especially in financing projects, I'm sure that there was also certain challenges which came along with that you had to overcome, because of course there's a certain mindset that you are the pioneer, you're the innovator, so the others are not going to follow suit at once. How did RCBC overcome the sort of challenges to become to move towards sustainability financing?
Well, you're right. The conversation initially, at the beginning, we were one of the few, so it was really more of educating our clients, and maybe Beth can have some inputs because she faces our clients.
Thank you. Hi. For over 10 years now, our President Eugene mentioned that we have been funding very actively renewable energy. We've been engaging proponents in order to support them with their sustainability initiatives, and that is really in the form of funding their projects, specifically wind and solar. So we've funded more than 3 gigawatts. We've supported more than 3 gigawatts, and we have a sizable pipeline of projects. And we have had a lot of repeat businesses as customers kept coming back. That just goes to show that we are able to deliver projects where we were able to work with proponents and address the different challenges, because all projects have unique challenges, and we're able to come up with structures that were deemed acceptable to all stakeholders and on a timely basis, if I may say, so that our experience has given RCBC a clear edge in terms of experience and skills in being able to come up and address these requirements of our customers.
Ms. Beth, help me also better appreciate, as a business person, whether I'm an enterprise or I'm an MSME or SME approaching you, what exactly are the sustainable financing, I guess, core principles that we should be aware of as clients or particular industries who want to approach RCBC for sustainable financing? What are the core principles we should be aware of?
Okay. Since this forum is, of course, focused on SMEs, so I'd like to address that on the point of view of SMEs. SMEs, a lot of them are actually part of a larger supply chain. Supply chain of big customers, big corporations, multinational corporations. These corporations on their own already have their own sustainability initiatives and are already requiring everybody at the back, everybody in their ecosystem to be sustainable as well. So it is very important that SMEs are able to adopt for them to continue to thrive and continue to do business dealings with the big corporations and the multinationals. So sustainability will be in various forms. So that can be in like the kind of power they source. So is it coming from renewable energy or the thermal, the non-traditional sources, and also in the processes that they do. So are they using, one example, single-use plastic? So how do they use a lot of that? So practicing circular economy where you recycle, reuse, those are things that you can actually start on a small scale and later on embed it in your process, in your mindset, in each and every employee's mindset, to be able to come up with like a sustainability focused team. So that's the idea that our SMEs should actually start adopting.
Yes, please.
Maybe I can add to that. No? I've been asked this question in other fora. And I think for the SME, one of the things you should look at, number one, is your core process. Which of these components can be more sustainable? Beth had mentioned raw material supply, even production of your products, what energies. But you can also look at your support processes. What are the infrastructure, the utilities, water management? You can also look at circular economy, we call it. It's recycling, maximizing your materials, making sure that least waste is expelled. So I think it starts from looking at the core process and the support processes and where each component can be made more sustainable.
So just to clarify, coming from the point of view of the business person, and he comes over to you and says, here's my project, right now RCBC will also evaluate all these other criteria in the process for them to say, okay, this is going to be a sustainable finance loan that we will offer.
That's right, that's right. In fact, we have a program now where for our suppliers, our third-party providers, we not only require them to have some ENS program in place as part of the accreditation process, we also provide them with literature on what ESG is about at RCBC.
I see.
Helps educate them.
So educate also the
That's
potential
right.
clients here at the same time. And then before I move on to our friends from SGV, before I move on there, I want to ask Ms. Beth one last question. I hope you don't mind.
Sure.
So we know that the importance of an SME or the smaller enterprises, that will be part of a larger chain where they're supplying enterprises where ESG is required of them. But also, what are the different kind of companies that can approach right now? Right now, to my mind, it's all about it's power, which is the most prominent, which was all about renewable energy, water, hydro, geo. But what are the other industries as well that you're looking at?
Okay, the other industries would include hospitals. We would have even financing companies for financial inclusion. So that's also part of the sustainability finance framework. Hospitals and schools. So, and then we have businesses which are actively promoting recycling. So those are things that, those are companies that will definitely be part of our sustainability finance space. And again, as long as the company is able to embed sustainability in their processes. So that's something that will definitely be a plus. And we will welcome as far as our sustainability initiatives are concerned.
Thanks so much, Ms. Beth. I want to go down to Ms. Glenda over here. And I understand you have an appreciation for SMEs. So help me better understand, because as they were saying, sustainability has to be an educational process, especially for SMEs. But right now, what is sustainability for SMEs as far as they're concerned? What are you seeing?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Well, first, just to emphasize, that 99% of the business in the Philippines are actually SMEs.
That's right.
So that's huge. Second, SMEs, as we know, there might be some limited resources, in terms of fund, manpower, lack of time, knowledge, and maybe the focus would be more of generating profits. Okay, but Ms. Beth here made a very good point, that SME is really part of a broader value chain, ecosystem, because most of its clients can either be a larger corporations or the government, which is quite progressing on this space. So there is really no exception, I guess, for our MSMEs colleagues, not to also do something or set their agenda or sustainability objectives at this point. So may it be like treating their employees right, reducing their emissions based on their targets, or following the rules and regulations. So as simple as that, and then progress as they go through their sustainability journey.
Got that. And I'm trying to, of course, I'm trying to balance also thinking that I'm operating here, I'm a smaller business. And obviously sometimes when you bring in sustainability practices, the cost of doing business actually increases for them. And it's hard to see the long-term goal when right now your profit margin is being squeezed because of inflations. So how do we help reconcile that for SMEs?
Yeah, RJ, actually that's correct. Really, there's an initial investment cost because the operations might require a new equipment, to make it more efficient, to save energy in the case, waste management, etc. But we do have to realize that in the long run, there's still benefit, whether it is on efficiency, on the operations, saving on cost, attracting revenue, and also just to highlight, there's a lot of surveys that consumer nowadays also consider the sustainability position of the brand in making their purchase decision.
I see.
And lastly, in terms of attracting talent as well. So employees also consider, what are the positions of their company in terms of social issues for them to whether to stay in the company or whether to join the company. Yes. So those are just some of the benefits that they can earn in the long run.
So, what I'm hearing as well, it's I think a bigger concern, particularly for the more Gen Z and millennial employees and clients, that if I join a company, in a little way, it helps improve the quality of life or change the world in a little way. Kapag Gen Z, di ba tayong dalawa? That's right, no? Millennial over there. Thanks so much. I'm going to go to Attorney naman here. Attorney, I know that what's nice about speaking to you right now is you're a social entrepreneur advocate. You brought about, in your term, you brought about 3,000 e-trikes delivered to many LGUs. So you have a better appreciation of actually how to get even the micro and small entrepreneurs to come on board into the sustainability chain or the sustainability framework. Maybe you can share with us a bit more so many of our SMEs can better appreciate how do we take that journey now? What is your best practice to bring more people on board that journey?
But this is coming from the perspective of the younger generation. So,
okay.
People born in the 2000s. I wish. So, so just trying to put all of those concepts together and based on our experience. One of the primary reasons why I was really excited to join this group of people and talk about sustainability is our own personal experience. Back in 2013, we tried to put up electric jeepneys, trying to introduce the concept, the idea of using electric vehicles in public transportation. It was quite novel at the time. The problem was, how do you finance it? And here, finally, you have a bank like RCBC who's willing to go out on the limb and finance sustainability projects. And for us, that's really something. It's so hard when you're in a situation where values are shifting, when there's a realization that there's more things that we need to do in order to make this planet a better place, when suddenly intergenerational responsibility becomes the byword. It's easy to talk about it, it's very difficult to do. So for SMEs right now, you now have better opportunities. You now have banks, you now have financial institutions that are willing to provide the needed finance. Everything that we do in business requires a resource. But finding that resource is difficult. And so for SMEs to actually have these products, these financial products available, it makes it much, much easier as compared to before. In our experience in the e-trikes, financing is still the glass ceiling. Right now, I'm a consultant for a company that's trying to roll out more e-trikes for several cities in the NCR, and the problem really is the financing. That's really the biggest challenge. And to have, again, this opportunity.
And aren't you glad you're in this platform right now where the president of RCBC can hear that they need financing now for e-trikes, no?
The funny thing is, whenever you're in a forum like this, they usually give you guide questions, right? And so one of the guide questions that I read about was the fact that what are the opportunities for SMEs, right?
Yes, exactly.
In sustainability now. And there's a lot now compared to 10 years ago. Because now you can have a project that you want to do, that you're going to take a risk in, and it's really, for SMEs, it's really the risk aversion. That's really the problem. You don't want to put up more money, more capital, when you can use those resources for your own bottom line, for your own particular business. But now you have government institutions coming in, trying to support two recent laws. You have the Electric Vehicle Industry Act, you have the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act. And now the private financial institutions are coming in. So there's more opportunities to get financing, which is really, honestly, that's really the challenge. And the fact is, we don't need perfection in sustainability. We don't need 100%. We don't need 100%. It's impossible to get 100% now. But it would be great to get 2%, 3%. Progress, I think, is the key. So like Gabby said, like Glenda said, like all the other members of the panel said, doing all of these small things slowly and surely, that's the way we're going to combat this problem.
And exactly, and like you said, it's a move towards sustainability. It's not going to be something that we can immediately move towards. Like right now, we open the forum to that discussion, so at least we provide an opportunity for projects like yours to go. Before I go back to our friends from RCBC, I'm just very curious, if you don't mind me asking, where comes the drive for you? I mean, this was 2013, 2015. It wasn't, the drive towards sustainability wasn't being echoed by too many people at that time. So where was the drive for you to become a social entrepreneur advocate, to push for things like e-tricycles?
I was genetically predisposed to it. I'm asthmatic. I have severe skin asthma. And so when I walk out, and I love to walk, that's the problem. I love to walk under the sun, I love to walk. And when you walk around the city now, it's just, I love to travel. We were talking about this earlier. And then when you travel and you go to other countries, walking around is great. They have green spaces, public transport is amazing. I love the Philippines. We always discuss this amongst friends. Whenever you go drink with Filipinos, you always talk about, would you ever migrate? Would you ever go to a different country? Well, I don't want to migrate. I love this country. And so if you want to live in a better place, then you have to start contributing to that ideal. You have to start working towards that ideal. And so that's how the idea started. If you look at the data, public transport is one of the biggest contributors to air pollution in this country. We have jeepneys that were designed to work on diesel engines that are usually 20, 30 years old, running right now on our streets. We have tricycles that are two-stroke, running around all over the country, and it's every day, and you're walking around, you're inhaling all of these pollutants. You need to do we need to start doing something about it, and that's how it started. The idea of bringing electric vehicles to public transportation.
Got that. Thanks so much. And jumping off from your discussion, which is very interesting. So you're discussing, the requirements for what you need to get financing for something like an e-vehicles. I'm going to go back now, because that was our discussion earlier on with Ms. Beth and over here with Gabby, was that you're coming up with the criteria, the processes, and the protocols. So for example, we've got business people listening to us here right now, and they're saying, okay, I'm interested to get into sustainable financing and introducing these green projects like the e-trike. If you were to just evaluate based on what he said, what do you think they need to be able to qualify or to be part of the sustainable financing efforts of RCBC?
Well, the bank, it's normal. The bank would have to look at the business model and see how it pans out, how it will be able to service like the debt that it will acquire to be able to fund that project. And there are also a lot of intangibles attached to it. So we also put consideration to that. It's still largely a business proposition, but the good thing about it is that it's not just business just to earn money, because there is something more that the business gains, and we as a funder also are able to gain by being part of that project. So in short, it's still really a business. It's a business. It's not charity, it's business. So the whole thing has to make sense. There has to be enough returns for the investor as well as the bank, and also a bigger return for everybody, the environment including.
Got that. Yes, Gabby, please.
Maybe the nice thing about our sustainable lending practice is that it's not just the sustainable portfolio that comes into focus. The entire portfolio comes into focus. In fact, we do due diligence on our portfolio, on our projects, and we provide inputs to the project proponents, the clients, on how they can address certain issues, be better with their operation, be better sustainable in the way they do things. I think it's not just, I want to join the sustainable portfolio of RCBC. But I think you want to join the portfolio of RCBC and he will help you become more sustainable.
Got that. And springing forth from that question, or from that answer rather, no, is to also ask, you were saying earlier, okay, these are the projects that we are actively looking for. Can we just find out more or less? So these are businessmen, entrepreneurs, business owners, plus what are the projects that you're actively looking to support for sustainable financing? At the same time, can you also give us exemplars, maybe what you've seen abroad that you're saying, oh, this is interesting. It's something we should do here in the Philippines, and if somebody did this project here, it's something we might take a look at.
Okay, RCBC is covering like the entire, from the smaller projects to the big projects now. On a big scale, we have been funding utility scale solar and wind farms. So again, this could be proponents who are putting up their own solar or wind farms, and they're selling the power either to the grid or to an off-taker, a corporate off-taker. And so there are contracts, things like that. We're both doing solar, wind. In the past, we did hydro and also geothermal. Abroad, it's more or less the same thing. The difference would be maybe the regulatory regime. So the bank is, in a way, the bank is, I don't want to say flexible, but we're open. We're open to being able to come up with creative ways of addressing risks. Because there will be risks. Whichever way you take, there will always be risks. But the idea is for us to be able to do something creative that will also address the risks that we're looking at. For SMEs in particular, for one example would be, let's say, putting up solar panels on their rooftops. So that's something that we can definitely look at. We know that the putting up solar panels will result to savings to their business. So that's something that you can really put a number to and try to see how it will help the business and how it will further increase their productivity, output, the sales. So those are things that we normally look at.
Great. And Glenda, from your perspective now, speaking from the SME's perspective and understanding, having worked with many of them, how do you think, you have any recommendations on how financial institutions can also sort of tailor their processes to support businesses in their financial journey, in their sustainability financing journey moving forward? Of course, they're fixing everything up, and some of them, they're big enterprises and they're small ones who are getting ready to prepare their new documentations for the bank or the new requirements for the bank. How do you think the banks can further help our SMEs?
Yeah, well, actually, when I was listening to President Eugene earlier in his welcome speech, all of the possible RCBC is currently doing, first in terms of mobilizing and allocating the resources. So banks, as you know, have that capacity to allocate resources, the investment, the borrowers, towards a low carbon economy. Second would be on engaging their clients. So having that discussion, as I heard, they have a certain target. It was not an abrupt decision, like to cut ties with those coal-fired power plant, but it was a journey, it was a process. And I think having that conversation as well with the SMEs, having that discussion on how the bank can actually help them meet their objectives as well. Third would be on the leadership and capacity building, like what is currently happening, educating your clients on what can they do further towards this goal. So I think those are the things, that the financial institution can actually help. And lastly would be maybe also on the engaging the regulators, talking to them, corroborating on how this can actually progress further.
Got that. Thanks so much, Ms. Glenda. Attorney, but earlier on they were talking about the idea of risk assessment or trying to de-risk the ability for them to be able to lend money to our project, which are hopefully very sustainable in nature. From your own experience, how important is risk assessment, particularly for these smaller projects? You did the E-Trike project. So what was your own example of how you were able to, I guess, secure financing for this project at the same time being able to de-risk the project so it's something that's more palatable to our financial institutions?
Well, I guess as earlier said, risk assessment is critical. It's critical. The bottom line is it has to be project viable. If it's not project viable, then you look for a way to either make it project viable or you look for a different project. We cannot we cannot place the burden of sustainability solely on one part of the sector. It has to have a return. And not only because it makes business sense, because then it stands on its own. These projects have to be, we have to do it not just because we need to, because it's the right thing to do, but it has to make business sense. So that's one of the reasons why it's critical that you study it well, not only from the perspective of somebody who say, I'm trying to stop myself from giving specific examples, because there were programs that we ran across that kind of studied the Philippine landscape from the perspective of the West. And then they come here and then they try to implement a project. They did not start from the ground up. And so there are certain things that did not take into consideration. For example, again, without saying the name of this international financial institution, the problem was the product that they tried to roll out was just too expensive. My term for it is they were trying to sell a Ferrari to people who lived in Tondo. It's not going to work. So the project has to be viable. It's still a business. We're still talking about the bottom line. We need to make sure that we plan accordingly. You have risk mitigation, and you have strategies in place.
And having said that, you're a social entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I often tell people that, problems are just, or pain points are really just opportunities in disguise. So as a social entrepreneur, I'm sure that there were some projects which didn't work for you, but you had to, I guess, pivot a bit, change it up a bit, and finally it was something that was more viable. How did that work out for you, particularly in this industry for sustainability?
When you're at the forefront of something, it's going to be very painful. It's always going to be very painful. The risk is higher. The risk exposure is it's insanely high. Just to share a really quick example, when we first started working with electric vehicles in public transport, the government then required us to get what you call an emissions test, like whenever you register a car. And interestingly enough, before, when you try to get an emissions test using an electric vehicle, they would not give us clearance because we didn't have emissions. So try explaining to somebody that the reason why you don't have emissions is because you don't use fossil fuels. And so it's quite difficult. But these things need to be done so that the processes will change, policymakers take notice, rules will change, the regulatory framework will change, and it becomes easier for everybody else. Pivot, we pivot so many times, we call it business cha-cha already, just to be able to get some food on the table. So like I said, and this is really off topic, you want to do this when you're younger.
Kaya naman Gen Z, we're all Gen Z at heart here naman, so that's okay.
Heart only.
But it's the body that counts over here.
Again, the body no longer recovers as fast.
Really, really great insights coming from all of our guests over here. And I'm really sad to say that we have to wrap up our discussion very soon, particularly for our friends watching us on Zoom. But as we move forward, maybe just some parting advice right now that we are able to give to those people, especially to the enterprises and to the SMEs that are listening to us here right now, that there will be challenges, I guess, along the way in this direction. But coming from your perspective, from the perspective of the bank, from the perspective of our consultants in SGV, and also from our social entrepreneur, as they drive literally towards that direction in sustainability, what is the advice that you'd like to give them? First to our enterprises and to our SMEs.
I think the message of sustainability is that we're all moving there. There may be pain points at the beginning, but pun intended, because of the way regulations and laws are going to come out, we need to be more sustainable, more future-proof. So we need to have a longer view of our business model. At the same time, this is a big opportunity, especially for the SMEs, because we are now looking for emerging technologies in the renewable space. And this is the opportunity to become the next big thing. So I think they also have to keep an eye out for that. So there's a long-term view, and also there's a short-term eye out for disruptive technologies that you can be a part of.
Got that. A round of applause, please, Mr. Gabby Tomas, Chief Risk Officer of RCBC. Ma'am Beth.
Thank you. The United Nations defined sustainability as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So on that alone, the stakes are really high. The future generation, the stakes are high. So sustainability, there is no other way. Everybody has to really adopt sustainability. We may be doing it in different paces, but there is no way that we will not adapt. We have to basically practice and preach it in our daily lives. It cannot just be the big corporations. It cannot just be the big businesses and the governments. Everybody, so the SMEs most especially, and all of us in our personal lives, we have to adopt sustainability. And for the SMEs, our RMs, our RCBC relationship managers, will touch base with you to see how we can work with you towards this journey, towards your journey towards sustainability. And there is no, in short, everybody, as I've said, everybody has to go through this journey. After all, there is no planet B. That's all.
Got that. Thank you so much. Round of applause, please. Beth Coronel, Head of Corporate Banking Group here, RCBC, and their Executive Vice President, Ms. Glenda.
Yeah, I guess for me, I just want to probably separate for SMEs and then for the larger corporations. No, for SME, start probably integrating, sustainability in your operations. I just have probably 4 key stages, or key steps. First is really to assess and identify, your environmental and societal impact and where you can make a significant difference. Second would be your commitment, strategic commitment, So start drafting your strategy and commitment, and if I may borrow the concept from BSP, applying the concept of proportionality. I know the effort of SME and larger corporation is different because the risk profile is different, the exposure is different. So what is important is that you identify what is your risk appetite. Third would be goal setting and implementation. And I would like to highlight 2 areas. In terms of goal setting, similarly to how we know how goals should be set, it should be SMART, right? And then second would be on the implementation, clear action steps, and then of course the evaluation. So as we know, we cannot manage what we cannot measure. So make sure that you have a metrics where you can track your sustainability journey. And lastly would be the reporting. So if I may apply an analogy, some people having their fitness journey would like to post something on social media, right? And then everyone would be will wait for the result, whether they will really lose weight. So same thing with sustainability. Reporting would be help engage your stakeholders, report to them the progress, and that would promote trust and transparency. For those larger corporations, which I think are more advanced, maybe it's also time to first strengthen the governance. It's always a tone from the top. Second, time to revisit also your strategy, your scale of ambition. Maybe it's the time really to set a bolder target. And then lastly, the quality of disclosure. So I think that's all from me, RJ. Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you. Really great tips, Ms. Glenda Nino of SGV. Let's give her a round of applause as well. Attorney Bodhi.
So whenever you find yourself in a situation where attitudes are changing, moral values are changing, regulatory frameworks are changing, there's always risk and opportunity. So let's start with the good stuff, the opportunity. So whenever you have this situation, there's an opportunity to change systems and change processes that may actually be good for your bottom line. And so you now have the opportunity to change something in your process, something in your business model that might actually end up benefiting you. So that's the opportunity. But you have to be aware of the risks, right? And whenever you change any process, anything in your value chain, there is a risk involved, but there's also regulatory risk. And I have a specific example because a lot of people are not aware, but if you're a building owner or if you're a tenant consuming a certain amount of power every month, there's 2 thresholds. And when you reach those thresholds, you're actually required now to file reports with the Department of Energy under the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act. And a lot of people are not aware of this. And there are penal provisions and there's fines that you might be required to pay. And so opportunity and risk, very, very present right now with the changing regulatory framework and with the changing attitudes and values that we're having.
Thanks so much, Attorney Bodhi Pulido. One more round of applause, Attorney Bodhi from Pulido, Villaraman, Manangkil, and De La Fuente. Again, thank you so much to all our panelists. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, to all our friends watching us right now on Zoom, thanks so much for joining us. We hope that you appreciated all the insights that you gained from here. Again, Ms. Beth was saying that our relationship managers will get in touch with our friends from RCBC who are interested to engage in sustainability financing with the bank. They're more than happy to speak to you and educate you on the ESG principles that they're following here right now for RCBC. In the meantime, we're going to close our discussion, but you can catch a video of this discussion here online. We'll be sending that over to you. In the meantime, we're going to have a little intimate discussion over here at the Hexagon Lounge. Again, round of applause, please, to all our guests here today. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be posting this online. Guys, have a great day ahead. Thank you so much.